Did early 80s cell phones have roaming? Imagine carrying a phone that's almost the size of a brick, and you're wondering if it can work anywhere you go. Well, in the early 1980s, cell phones were just beginning to change how we stay connected. But did they have the ability to roam from one area to another? The answer is no, not quite. Back then, cell phones operated on what's called first generation, or 1G analog networks. These networks started showing up around 1983 in the United States, with devices like the Motorola Dynatac. These phones were big, heavy, and very expensive, costing thousands of dollars and often taking hours to charge. But they had a major limitation. They could only work within specific local coverage areas. Roaming, which means a phone can connect to different networks when you travel outside its home area, was not part of the 1G system. Each network operated independently with its own protocols, so a phone used in one city wouldn't work in another city or state. There was no standardized system to switch between networks or bill calls across different providers. If you traveled outside your carrier's coverage zone, your phone simply wouldn't work. There was a small exception in Scandinavia with the Nordic mobile telephony system. It allowed limited roaming between countries like Finland, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway. But these were large, suitcase-sized mobile phones, not the small handheld devices most of us think of. These systems were special cases and not typical of the early 1980s mobile phones. It wasn't until the early 1990s that digital second generation, or 2G networks, introduced true roaming. These systems used the Global System for Mobile Communications Standard, which allowed phones to work across different countries and networks. They also supported secure billing and better call quality. So, from a nostalgia perspective, early 1980s cell phones were iconic for their size and cost. But they couldn't roam beyond their local network. Traveling with a cell phone and having it work anywhere was still a future dream. The technology was new and exciting, but very limited in its capabilities. In summary, early 80s cell phones did not have roaming. The systems were confined to local areas, and the idea of seamless travel with your phone was still years away. That's part of what makes those gadgets so fascinating, their simplicity and the huge leap forward they represented at the time.